Jane from Access Your True Nature. I have been out working with a horse today, and there was a lot of unresolved trauma and depression that came up. And for those of you that don't know me, I am Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature, where I assist people and animals to get to the root cause of their physical or emotional or mental dis-ease in their bodies, their lives, and their businesses, so that they can reclaim and reset their nervous systems, neuromodulate, release past stories, and really live happy, healthy, and abundant lives. Because at the end of the day, that is your birthright. So today I've had a couple of questions coming in from the past Facebook Lives that I've been doing, and I really wanted to talk about the 5 things that perhaps you don't know about depression. Did you know that out of the top 10 most prescribed medications, half of those are antidepressants, and many people that have depression don't respond to this medication? Obviously, the single symptom drug model is failing for depression. And when you look at the clinical model, there are key influences of the brain that we need to look at in order to deal with chronic epidemic of depression. The first thing you really need to know about depression is that it's not really caused by single neurotransmitter deficiencies. It's certainly not caused by an antidepressant deficiency. It's caused when the frontal cortex of the brain, the cingulate gyrus, are not firing. And that's basically it. If that part of the brain doesn't fire, you will feel depressed. So one of the things we have to understand is that many things can cause this area of the brain to not fire. It could be a neurotransmitter problem, but it's usually a lot more than that. And it could be serotonin, it could be dopamine, it could be GABA, it could be acetylcholine, it could be a lack of circulation to that area of the brain, it could be hormones. There's so many things. It's never just about depression. And it all depends on what is causing that area of the brain associated with moon to not fire. And that's really the goal when we try to look at depression on a new model. One of the common causes of depression is actually blood sugar fluctuations. So when you're eating a meal, you should have a rise of glucose, but that glucose should be normalized during the day. If you're getting spikes where you're getting irritable, or you're crashing off the meals, or shaky, all those kind of symptoms are a clue that you could develop depression, because you're throwing off neurotransmitters. They're throwing off how certain amino acids that cross over the brain to make neurotransmitters have profound impacts on hormones. So often one of the things I look at in depression is the fact that a lot of people have blood sugar issues going on. And when you can stabilize your blood sugar levels and avoid those afternoon crashes and the sugar cravings and the fatigue after meals, most of my clients have profound changes in their mood, and the depression lifts just from one simple lifestyle intervention. Did you know that poor circulation is also a major cause of depression? The cold hands, the cold feet, and they also don't know that they have decreased circulation to the brain. But if you have cold hands and cold feet, it's a clear indication that there is circulatory issues going on in the rest of your body and your tissues. And we want to get circulation up to your brain. We need that blood to carry all the hormones and the neurotransmitters and all the things that impact your mood. So one of the things that's really important for you to know if you have chronic depression is, do you have poor circulation? Do you have cold hands and feet? And the other thing to think about is, if you've noticed that when you do things like exercise or your hands and feet get warm, that your mood changes. And if you can see a correlation between your mood and cold hands and cold feet, and you see your mood improve as your feet and hands get warmer, there's a likely cause that it's due to circulation issues. Leaky gut and intestinal permeability, that chronic inflammation from eating inflammatory foods like eating milk and wheat and all those things, they cause tight junctions of the intestine to open up, and they allow food particles to cross. And people are starting to see now that that creates chemicals in the gut that impact the brain chemical function that lead to depression. So we now know that there's this huge important link between intestinal function and digestion of proteins in food and their impact on mood. So if you're struggling with depression and you see that when you eat certain foods and you get bloated or your joints start to hurt, you want to start to look at when you're eating things like wheat or milk, do you suddenly get depressed or get bloated or depressed? It might actually be intestinal permeability that you need to look at here. And there's a cytokine model of depression, which is a messenger protein that your immune cells release. And when you're inflamed, your immune cells have an increase of this cytokine. So if you notice that you have joint pain or bloating or inflammation, you know, or it's an underlying autoimmune disease, or you have some kind of IBS going on, all these mechanisms are increasing your load of inflammatory cytokines. And what we've now found is that these cytokines actually cause depression. And as these mediators start to be released in the body, they cross the blood-brain barrier and they decrease that firing of the nerves in the brain. They decrease nerve induction, and the frontal cortex, which is part of the mood, we see people get depressed. So many times the key component of really addressing depression is an anti-inflammatory and diet lifestyle protocol rather than an antidepressant. And I think it's really important to realize that there's many mechanisms that can cause depression. So I really urge you to find out what that mechanism is for you and start being curious about it. See what your moods are doing. Are you crashing in the afternoon? Are you craving sugar? Look at your blood sugar and see if that changes. If you've got cold hands and feet all the time, you may have circulatory issues that are causing your depression. If you're always bloated after you eat, you may have intestinal permeability as a cause of your depression. If your joints hurt or you have chronic inflammation or autoimmune disease, that may be the cause of your depression. So I invite you to start getting really curious about this and start to see what are your body cues. What happens just before or after you're eating something, or what happens to you when you're around certain people, or if there is a high pollen count in the air, or just start to really get curious about what's underneath the depression that may be causing the depression, because it's never simple, and it really is about finding your individual prescription of what your lifestyle looks like. What are your relationships like? What are your stress levels like? And when we start to look at this in a holistic way, the way that I work with my clients is that we want to look at all of that, including, have you ever had any brain injuries or brain traumas, head traumas of any kind, or any other traumas in your life? I want to look at your adverse childhood experiences so that we can actually go back and see what is the priority for your body in this moment that's going to address the underlying symptoms that are causing your depression, because you can't heal what you don't feel. So I really want you to get really into feeling. What are you feeling in this moment? What is it that brings up depression for you? Is it a story? Is it a past hurt? What's going on in your life? Start keeping a journal. I always find that's a really great way to actually start to keep a journal and write down different things. Write down when you're waking up in the night. Write down things like any small details, any little changes that you make. Make a list of it so that you can actually start tracking things like sleep, like diet, like rest, like exercise. Looking at changing your supplements around. I use individual amino acids. Sometimes GABA works for somebody, sometimes 5-HTP works for somebody else. Sometimes we need to look at other things. And if you're taking a lot of supplements and you're not sure which ones are working and which ones aren't, that's where we want to look at taking it all away, doing an elimination diet protocol that includes supplements and vitamins and lifestyle changes, so that we can actually strip it all away and go back to the beginning, go back to the root cause, so that you don't have to live with this depression, this feeling of not being enough. And remember, I'm not talking about clinical depression here. that's a whole nother ball game. But we're really looking at how can we lift your mood? How can you go into your life with a healthy neuromodulation, being able to not have to always be in a reactional state of fight, flight, freeze response every time something or someone triggers you. So I'll leave it at that for today. Those are my 5 ways to actually start to look at what depression may be that actually isn't depression in the first place. And if you like this information and you'd like to know how to work with me one-on-one, or look at some of my online programs, the Out of the Blues program is a great starting point if you're really looking at taking back control and being your own medicine in your life or your body or someone that you love. So go to accessyourtruenature.com, check out what's available. There's tons of free resources there, and if you would like to schedule a complimentary 30-minute clarity session with me, just go ahead, book a time that works for you, and I will be happy to jump on the line and see what is the best way to create your individual prescription so that you can reclaim your life, trust your body, and live the life you came here to live, happy, healthy, and free. All right, take care. Bye.